Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi. I'm Mayor Manny Cid, and with us today we have Dr. Carlos Gonzalez. How you doing, Doctor?
Good. I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you coming on, and one of the things that always inspires me is that people who I grew up with, people that I've known since we were kids, being incredibly successful, right? That's something that brings so much like pride and joy, because I'm like, the other day I saw your face in the newspaper and I was like, bro, what's up? That's my dude, you know. And I think as a society, we realize that, you know, we really have to celebrate those moments, because those are folks that should shoulder to shoulder. So a little bit about you, you know, because we played baseball together, right? At Hareb Christian, we went to school there together. What was that moment that you went from, I want to be a baseball player? Sorry, you have, you know, from the background that we have, Hispanic background, the Caribbean. When did you make that switch to say, I want to go into the dental world, into the dental field?
Well, yeah, you know, well, first of all, thanks for having me, Mayor Manny. I want to say that, you know, I respect you a lot, and the same feeling about accomplishment, I feel the same way, you know, seeing your face, seeing you as mayor and as a great mayor, you know, it makes me very proud to know you and to call you a friend, man. Well, you know, I was playing baseball. It was mostly recreational. We did have good runs. We had good seasons in Hareb. I also played a few seasons in Miami Lakes Optimist, and it was fun, but it was very recreational. I never took it seriously, like you know, I never had a dream of going to the MLB, okay? I always wanted to... I kind of had a feeling for design and architecture. That's what I really wanted to do. I would just draw on my free time. I would do blueprints of buildings on my free time. I was like, what am I doing? But that's what I really gravitated to. After graduation, went to, you know, living as a young kid in Miami. I wasn't really focused, right? I was partying a lot.
Club Space, you went all over.
Space, what were those clubs back then? Opium, todas esas cosas, yeah. So I was really focused on, you know, having a good time and things like that. So I wasn't really focused on school until one day I said, you know what am I doing here? You know, my mom is a dentist. They had a few offices. They eventually had 6 offices at one point. And I would see the work that she would do, and I'd see the respect of the patients. They would love her. They'll see her in the street and they'll say, doctor, I love you so much. Thank you so much. They would just show so much appreciation for her that I was like, you know what? This is pretty cool. I kind of like that. I'm curious about it. So during high school, after school, I would go work at the offices. You know, I would do, you know, clerical stuff, filing papers and you know, inputting information into a computer, things like that. But I would get even closer to those patients and those feelings of appreciation and just seeing all this cool stuff going on in the dental office. So I started, you know, getting more curious about that. Then I put on some gloves and I would assist my mom and, you know, get some more hands-on. And I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. So that's when I took the shot and decided to go for dental school.
And dental school, it's in the Dominican Republic, right? In Santo Domingo. You know, and I think that gives you an advantage over maybe some of your peers that went here in the U.S. Because here in the U.S., right, dental schools, yeah, they bring in kids from the community, you know, people get checked out. But in the DR, I mean, you saw everything. What some doctors, some dentists only see in the books, right? In the theory, right? Never the practice, because the reality is but you saw everything. So talk to us about some of those stories in the DR and how learning and seeing those things and dealing with them helped you become a better doctor today.
Yeah. So, you know, dental school in the USA is awesome. You know, I think, you know, there's amazing dental schools, but there's also amazing international dental schools. UNIBE in Santo Domingo is one of them, right? One of the advantages of me going overseas for that is, you know, the experience of living overseas out of my house, you know, makes you mature and, you know, shows you, you know, responsibility. You're living on your own on another island. And then in the dental aspect, like, there's a lot of poor people out there. There's a lot of need out there. So while some dental schools here, they have some requisites like, hey, you know what, to graduate as a dentist, you got to do, I don't know, 10 extractions. We would do like 100 extractions. Some dental schools here, it's like, all right, to graduate, you got to do 2 root canals. We would do dozens of root canals, because there's the need and there's the patience. I remember one time, it was close to finals. We needed some patience. And what a lot of the dental students would do is they would go to a hospital that was nearby, like 2 blocks away, called La Maternidad, which is where all the poor people would go to give birth. So we would just walk on our free time during lunch to La Maternidad to go look for patients. Hey, you need a tooth out? Come, follow me. And we'll just gather like 5-10 people, bring them to the clinic, do what we got to do. And it was nice. Those people really appreciated it.
Wow, man. That's does one story stick out in your memory from back then that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, one of the stories was, unplanned, right? My wife got pregnant last semester. Laura, shout out to Laura. She's a dentist too.
And how many? 8 months pregnant, right?
8 months pregnant.
On you, congratulations,
Thank
number
you.
3. So God bless.
Thank
God is
you,
good.
thank you. So, I mean, one of the craziest stories was just that last semester, she was like 8 months pregnant. Also, we had a thesis to present. We had like our final patients to gather, the final procedures to do, and I would have to do her work and my work because she can't take x-rays, right? So I would have to take my x-rays, take her x-rays, and it was just very, very hectic, but we got it done. It was tough, but it was an experience that showed a lot of growth, right? No more playing around. We got a baby on the way. We got to get this done.
No, maturity helps you put everything in focus, right? And says, hey, that's it, man. I'm not the highest one on the totem pole anymore, right? It's not about me. It's not about hanging. There's another human being that we got to take care of, right? So, and coming back to the U.S., I mean, how was that? How was that journey coming back and then taking what you learned, right? Because one thing is learning from your parents, going to medical school, but now there's 2 aspects. Now you got to come back. You got to be a good doctor, right? A good dentist. But you also got to run a business, right? Because now you got to pay your hygienist, you got to pay, rent, you got to pay water, light, all these different things that sometimes in medical school, maybe they don't teach you that. Right. They teach you how to be the dentist. Yeah. But how do you learn about the business side of it, right? Yeah. And so talk to us about the journey coming back and then starting off in your career.
So yeah, definitely like the business aspect is something that lacks, right? I'd say in most dental schools throughout, because they teach you very good clinical skills, how to do this, how many millimeters of that, how much to do here. But the business, what about the business? We had 1 class of business, the whole dental school. Most universities give something like that, like 1 class, maybe an elective or something like that. But it's not. It's nothing comparable to the real life, So like you said, the business is where it's at. Okay. When I got back from DR, we have to, ¿cómo se llama? Revalidar, right? We have to do a residency in order to get our license here, because you graduate over there, you're an international dentist. We got to be a dentist in the U.S. There's a few steps to follow. There's like a big test to take. It's the national board exam. Then you have to apply. Very competitive. There's about 20 to 25, maybe 20 to 30 programs in the U.S. that take international dentists and try to convert them into U.S. dentists. They're very competitive. You apply for a spot, is 80 of y'all in, for 4 spots. In Boston University, they interview hundreds for about 80 slots. So it's very, very competitive. Thankfully, I am pretty good. Thankfully I'm pretty dedicated. I study a lot. So I was able to get in smoothly, but others can't. Others find themselves in that applicant system for years and years, interviewing different programs, different states, and it's very competitive. Thankfully I was blessed, and I was able to get in pretty quick. About business,
because today you own your own site, right? That's a big deal, right? You go from being helping out your mom a little bit with some paperwork, putting on the gloves, mira, lleva esto para acá, do this, going to school. Now you got your own shop, right? Where it falls on you. And what a lot of people, and I tell this to a lot of folks, when you're part of a large corporation, just say you're working for a large corporation, a large city, you make important decisions, but you're part of like you're a cog in a wheel, right? You're not really, but when you have a small business, you make one bad decision, you can destroy, you can hurt your family, you can hurt dozens of families that depend on you. So talk to us about that, because I own a small business as well, so we know you have to make good decisions, because you can really harm yourself, your family, in terms of your future and other people. So that aspect of it, and how does it feel owning your own spot?
It feels stressful. It's very stressful, as you know, because like you said, there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of people depending on you, there's families depending on you, and you feel that. Thankfully, my parents, my parents were awesome. They taught me well. My dad is a businessman by heart, so he was able to, back in when he moved to this country, he came with nothing. He went to school, became an accountant. They moved to Hialeah, when we first came, and he decided to open up a laundry. Okay, so he had a coin laundry for a few years while my mom was studying, trying to get her license into the U.S. also. And then once he finally saw an opportunity, he decided to sell the coin laundry and open up his first dental office. He opened up right on 68th Street in Hialeah, next to the old Jumbo supermarket.
Down the street from Hareb.
Yeah, that dental office, that was ours.
Wow,
that was my dad's dental office.
That was a China Steakhouse was in that in that shopping center.
Yep. So after that, he went from one office to 2 offices to 3 offices. He eventually had 6 offices. After pandemic, there was an opportunity to sell a few, so he sold 3 and we stayed with 3. So he's a huge inspiration. He's a huge mentor. Without him, I don't know where I would be. Those intricacies in the decision making in the dental, niche is very important, and he's taught us a lot, procedure wise, and how to run, and maintain quality and at the same time run an ethical business, right? That's something that we're very proud of. We don't do shady stuff. We don't think about, where can we maximize the dollar and try to get every penny out of every patient. No, we're humans, right? We just try to focus on being humans and helping other humans. And when you're helping other humans, you can help them dental, but there's also a psychological aspect, right? Being a dentist, you're also a psychologist. People come to you with serious problems, and you have to try to navigate, the dental world and the dental decisions with these, just trying to help out, trying to be a change for somebody's life.
Man, that's it's powerful that you hear that, because you're talking about ethics and doing the right thing, and the reality is in every industry, but in the dental industry, there are some folks who are not ethical, right? And you walk into their door and you're in trouble, right? And a lot of people don't know, because it's tough to see it unless you try out different places. So kudos to you and your parents, which I think is so important to always talk about and have that front of mind. And then today, graduating from Goldman, going through your journey, owning your business, living down the street from Goldman now, right? You never thought, all these years later, right? Living down the street from Goldman, now bringing into the world third baby.
Yes.
Right, with your wife, who you met in the DR. You met
We
here?
met here. We met
Okay.
in Broward, and then we decided to take the shot together. We decided to go to dental school together, and it's been 15 years.
But look at that, so reminiscing on the journey to where you're at today. So you'd go to Goldman. Who would have thought that from Barbara Goldman, right on the same street as Barbara Goldman, you live, raising your kids, going through to the DR, going through all that to owning your own business today, living in the same community you grew up in. I mean, what perspective, what does that teach you about our country, about you, about the strength of working hard?
I think a lot of it is, like you said, the strength of working hard. I'm a guy that I like to have fun. I like to party. I like to.
You just turned 40 years old, bro. And you
40.
had a party. You had a party.
I had a party. Yeah. But thank you. So I like to have fun. But I also know that there's time to have fun and time to focus. And I think that that's one of the most important things that I learned at an early age. Party when you can, focus when you have to. Right. And there's this old saying, is like, what is it, like, work hard now so you can have fun later, rather than have fun now so you can work later. I took that seriously. I think my brother told me that. And I was like, you know what? When it's time to focus, give it all of your energy, give it all of your effort, so that, once that difficult time passes, you can relax and enjoy. I also feel that I'm a big believer in visualization, right? I never really thought I would live in Miami Lakes, but once I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna live in there. I don't know how I'm gonna live in there. I don't know how, but I'm gonna make it happen. And the months would pass and the year would pass, and then little by little, boxes were getting checked off, and I'm closer to that goal, and I just visualize it. I don't know. I'm going to live there, and it happened.
That is awesome, man. That is amazing. Albert, you got anything you want to throw in there?
What was the first step? Like, not the first step, but the first issue that you encountered when you first opened your dentist?
First issue, like business or like patients, business-wise. I'd say the hardest thing about owning a business, I don't know about you, but I'd say it's, managing people. If it's teeth, I can manage teeth all day, but it's managing people, because, people do have feelings, and people have different expectations. And I think that a lot of the hardest things is, people calling off, people asking for vacations, and someone getting laid off, or somebody quitting, and we have to rehire and things like that. I think definitely business wise, people management is HR is probably the hardest thing.
100%.
Paperwork, that's fine. Teeth, we got that.
100% managing folks is it's not easy, right? And there's a reason why a lot of people don't get into owning their own business, because that aspect of it is hard. And you hit it on the head. Everybody's different. So Carlos, to you, you get to ask us. You get 2 questions. You get to ask us anything you want. Right. Me, Albert, whatever. You're the host. All right, I'll just do it right here. We're gonna take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. Shout out to Fred at Miami Lakes Automall. They gave us the seed money to do all this, and huge shout out to Matter Lakes Academy, Abetico, Brent, Lewis, the whole crew. They have 11 class periods this year. They're killing it out there. They're doing amazing work. And additionally, I think your son. Where does your son go to school?
He goes to Matter Lakes.
You got to get him into the broadcast academy.
What's up, Elijah? Let's go. Let's get into broadcast.
Yeah, these guys do a great job. They do it at the sports game. I mean, everywhere. It's a really awesome. Shout out to Enrique Santos. He donated the Roadcaster that helped us. That Roadcaster goes everywhere. Not only here in my office, goes to Matter Lakes, to all the games. And last but not least, what do you think about? Have you ever been in a mayoral office with a mural like this?
This is so cool. Yeah. Who did this?
Grisel Gajano. She's a school counselor during the day at a school right down the street from here. Then at night, she's an incredible artist in the afternoon.
Super nice. I've been looking at it the whole time.
She's an incredibly talented person. I mean, she is truly amazing. Shout out to her, and thank you again to all of our sponsors.
I guess I want to ask you, man, how do you do it? You know, I see you all over the place. I see you running the city, and like I said, successfully, you know, and running a business with the best French toast in town. Fire. I don't understand. How do you do that? How are you here and there?
So you hit something on the head where you talked about, you know, you got to work hard to then enjoy the fruits of that, right? So my first 2-3 years as mayor, that was the heavy lifting, right? To change the culture, to change the perspective of staff, to change the way that we did business. And that took to the point where I had to be, I slept, a lot of people don't know this, but I slept at City Hall during Hurricane Irma. I mean, this office, I had my kids, my wife, I had my dog in a cage over there. And while they were sleeping, I was downstairs answering phones because we had given out a number. And then at 2:00 in the morning, when the storm went out, I went out with police. And I actually went to every end. There was no lights anywhere in the town because electricity was out. And so I did a lot of that. You know, I traveled the state of Florida for an I was the chair of growth management and economic development, representing hundreds of cities, 411 cities in Florida.
Wow.
I was the chairman I was a vice on a committee of the National League of Cities, you know, representing every city in the United States.
Wow.
But I did that because I knew that I had to put in the really hard work, especially at the beginning, to make sure once you get everybody on the same page in terms of culture and delivering services, making sure that customer service is good, you know, I felt good because everybody was working towards the same goal, right?
Nice.
Look, the challenge with government is that now, obviously, I leave in a month, and who knows who comes in next, right? You would hope it's somebody that keeps things going right, but one election in one community can make a quick turn.
I mean, I remember I've been a resident from Miami Lakes for 30 years. My parents came here like around 1994, más o menos. They moved to the Royal Oaks area. And I remember, you know, we've been through some hard times with different mayors and different, you know, situations in town hall. And it's like, you know, I love to see what you did. You really made a huge difference. You went a town that was basically being forgotten to a town that has a mini revival. I love to see it. You know, there's investments all over the place. There's new restaurants coming to town. There's parks opening up, you know, events, 5Ks with Santa Claus. You know, I love it. It's super cool. It's super cool to see. You know, it's super cool to be a part of a city that feels prosperous, that feels like they're heading in the right direction.
I appreciate it. And it's true, man. When I first got elected in 2000, this building didn't even exist. None of the stuff here existed. Our city hall was behind the Latin America, right? It was in an office building on the first floor, and there was nothing happening in the city. There was no new developments. There was no redevelopments. There was no new there was nothing. And then you're right, 12 years later, you know, so
feels good.
We got one more question for you.
One more question. I think I'm gonna keep it around that same realm, because I know that in order for you to turn this city around and face it towards the right direction, let's go back to ethics. You know, how did you manage to do that, you know, to get a city that maybe wasn't running well, and you have just like a very ethical vision where you're very straightforward, you're very honest, you know, you're very open about where you're at. You know, the people have your phone number. Yep. You drive around town in a truck. You're as transparent as possible. How'd you do that? So
going back to how the way our parents raised us, right? Very similar, right? Where ethics was talked about, where being honorable was talked about. For a long time, there was always, before I got elected, there was always rumors of corruption and this, that. Doesn't exist today.
Right.
My style is, like you said, very transparent, very accessible. There's nothing to hide, you know. But I will tell you this, there are people that don't like that, right? And that to me was one of the, while the vast majority of our community believes in that, there are people that enjoy corruption because they benefited from that.
Right.
I mean, there are people today that still are active in our community who were part of that corrupt apparatus but to change that, you got to be the change in that you want to see in society. So look, I do little things as there's people that come to city council meetings and assassinate my character. And I just tell them, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless. I tell them that because I realized that A, you can't allow somebody else to steal your joy from serving, but B, I'm the mayor. I mean, everybody looks to me, the kids, as an example of what their community looks like to the outside world, right? To everybody else. So if I get into back and forth, if I get nasty with people, if I say curse words, if I do corrupt things, if I'm out and about drinking, getting drunk places, or if I'm, no, man, it really starts eroding at the image and at an entire community, because that's the face of your community, right? So that's where I really worked hard the last 12 years, because a lot of people, I got elected in 2012 into a minority, but I became the vice mayor at 29 years old, and there was no mayor, so I was running the meetings. So I was literally, at that age, I've been in a leadership role for 11 years in this town. Wow. As the face per se of the town, you know, and yeah, I took that very serious. And similar to you, how ethics, I took that very serious to the point where I always know, even if I'm out and about, wherever I'm at, that I have to be the example.
There's a responsibility.
Now, when we end in November 5th, whatever. No, wait, but no, because now the other thing, our kids watch us too, right? So that's the other aspect of it, that I know that what I do, what I say, how I treat people, I never get personal with folks. There's people out there that immediately, and I'm like, look, stick to the policy. Even now when I ran for county mayor, never once. Yeah. It was all on policy. I was like, hey, look, you're doing this. It's harming the middle class. This is happening. But it was never like, hey, your family this, right? And other people are very okay with that. But I think it goes back to our upbringing, right? And the ethics. So, Carlos, in closing, if you can share some words of inspiration, motivation, if you can look at that camera in the middle and share some words to that next Carlos Gonzalez, that kid who just graduated from Barbara Goldman, is hanging out in Miami, because Miami's a party city, right? And doesn't know yet what path life's gonna take him, but use you as an example that, man, once you realize, it's time to get serious, look at what the world has waiting for you, right? You own your own business, you're extremely successful, you're about to have your third kid, you live in a beautiful home right down the street from the high school that you went to. I mean, what else? I mean, God is so good, right? So share some words of inspiration, motivation to that next Dr. Carlos Gonzalez. I
mean, what I want to tell you guys is, sometimes you may feel like imposter syndrome. Like, do I really deserve a good life? Maybe you made some mistakes in your past. Maybe you have, I don't know, not the best record with grades, or not the best record with your family or relationships, but there's always opportunity to change. I wasn't the best student. I was horrible with math. Math was my enemy. Until I, decided to change it. Nobody forced me to change it, but you gotta kind of want it yourself, because it's like that old saying, you can't force a horse to drink water. You can lead them to the water, but you can't force them to drink, right? So you can have parents and grandparents and mentors telling you got to do this, but you don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. It's only when you want to do something is that when you really see the change. There's always going to be times to have fun, but it can't be all the time. It can't be all the time. You have to dedicate time to your growth. It could be personal growth. It could be business growth. It can be educational growth. But you have to dedicate the time, and you got to know when to differentiate. Hey, now it's time for fun. Now it's time to get focused. And it'll all make sense at the end. And I think that ethics is something that has to be spoken about. There's always ways to cheat, there's always ways to cut corners, and there's always ways to benefit yourself over other people. But maybe one thing that changed me is the mindset of maybe by helping people, I'm helping myself. So that was a mindset shift that happened to me. I said, you know what? Let me help as many people as I can, and the universe is going to take care of me. And so far, that's been the case, and hopefully that continues to be the case.
That's amazing. And there you have it. The incredible story from a local Miami Lakes kid who grew up in our community to a successful entrepreneur and a great example for that future generation, Dr. Carlos Gonzalez. Tune in next Wednesday on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube.